How's it going, you guys? So in this video I'm going to talk a little bit about reishi mushroom and some of my subjective experiences with it. So if you don't know what reishi mushroom is, okay, so reishi is definitely not, like shrooms, right? But it will, over time, help you expand your consciousness. It's not a drug or anything or a hallucinogen, but I'm sure if you take it at really high dosages and you take a high quality extract of it, then it's possible that it could at least, like, it could put you in a really hypnotic mind state, right? But reishi mushroom, it's a medicinal mushroom. It's been used for thousands of years. It's a staple in Chinese medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, which is a form of medicine that I started out studying back in 2014, 2015, when I first got interested in health. That was my first introduction into what they call holistic health, which involves the whole person and the whole picture of life rather than just the physical body or the mental, or what, if you have an eye problem, you wear glasses, or if you have a pain problem, you deal with the actual site of the pain. It deals with the whole body, understanding that works in synergy. Nonetheless, reishi mushroom is a main staple of traditional Chinese medicine. It's a Shin tonic, a Jing tonic, a Qi tonic. It's a Yin Jing tonic, but it fortifies all three treasures. Nonetheless, reishi mushroom is an extraordinary herb or medicine for relaxing the body, healing anxiety, insomnia. It's very helpful for. But I think a lot of people have a very superficial view and understanding of reishi and medicinal herbs as a whole. I think a big part of that is because we get so caught up in reading the mechanisms of action and the scientific literature surrounding a substance that we miss some of the greater long-term perspective on it. And, obviously I'm extremely guilty for that. For the past 2 years, I've just had my nose in, you know, science books, scientific literature, and trying to understand the mechanisms of various diseases, ketones, and stuff like that. And that's a very important aspect if you really want to understand the whole truth behind something. Science is extremely important for that. And a lot of times, if you have a long-term subjective experience with something, you can use mechanistic data and intervention trials to help you understand why you might have gotten that effect. Anyway, so long-term reishi tends to kind of like open your perspective, all right? So, one problem with most people is that they they live from the same paradigm their entire life. They see the world through the same lens and perspective most of their life. They grow up in a household that has a certain belief system, and subconsciously these beliefs take hold, and then the average person tends to live their entire life seeing the world through whatever belief system and paradigm they grew up in. And this is not as simple as just like believing that God exists or being Catholic or something. This is more like your subconscious tendencies to see things a certain way. Like literally, see, and a lot of people, they say that they understand this, but I don't think many people can fully like embody the understanding of how groundbreaking this really is. But everybody is seeing the world through like a unique lens. Like it's not just like beliefs, it's like we're experiencing the world in different ways, completely different. Like we're literally living in different realities. It's fascinating. And what I believe reishi helps with is over time expanding your ability to see the world through different lenses, through different ways, through different perspectives. It serves as a tool to broaden your perspective of seeing the world. It helps you let go of old limiting belief patterns and subconscious tendencies. It almost like, in a way, it subtly So let's say you have, like, you live in a box, right? And you're inside the middle of the box. Well, I think Reishi, over time, it subtly works in the background to expand that box, expand that box. And on the outside of that box, you have all these other possibilities and all these other belief patterns and understandings and things. But most people, they live in this tiny box, and it never expands because, number one, you have to take action on a path towards expanding that box. And number two, a lot of people, they lack the nutritional building blocks required for proper brain function that will allow that type of intellectual approach to the world. And so they're not able to seek the resources and things because they live in a constant state of fight or flight. And so their survival needs are never met. And that's like the lowest on the hierarchy of needs, on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And what that means is before they can ever work on expanding their perspective of the world, they have to meet their survival needs first. And so even if people have like a good home, and they have good money and stuff, a lot of times they're so stressed out that they're not able to. They're still living in a state of fight or flight, and their survival needs may be met on paper, but in their mind and in their existence, it's like every single day feels like they're fighting to survive. And a lot of that has to do with improper nutrition. And, there's various other possibilities as to why that is. One of those could be limiting belief patterns and things. But, subconscious tendencies and thought patterns that you have to transcend beyond in order to feel more at ease. And I think Reishi helps you break past that without even, a lot of people, they start taking Reishi, and then all of a sudden they start to work on their nutrition as well after like a month or two of taking Reishi. Reishi is almost like a gateway to, healthy habits and healthy nutrition. It's fascinating. And so it's like a cheat code almost for upgrading your paradigm and upgrading your life. There's a lot of people, they struggle, and their gateway into a better life is like a self-help book. Because when you read books, it's almost like you're downloading new paradigms, you're downloading new understandings and things. And the more information and the more perspectives that you're able to kind of like expose yourself to and be influenced by, the closer and closer you get to expanding that box. Because just because you learn new information doesn't necessarily expand your paradigm. Learning new information can it's like over time it allows you to expand your paradigm. How many times have you gone to a martial arts class or gone to school or something, and like you learn new information, but you don't become a new person. You learn new information, but you don't automatically change. So many times, like I'm sure most people, they have had like a friend or a family member who they constantly try to give advice to, and it's advice that they know for sure that these people need. And no matter how much information you give them, whether it's facts or science or anything, or tangible like proof that the advice will help, a lot of times these people, no matter what, even to save their life, they cannot change. Even if they are like, oh yeah, I understand, like, oh, that makes total sense, and then they go right back to how they used to be. That's because they're still inside that little box, and all the things you're telling them is outside of that box. And so they've got to expand their actual physical box so that they can actually take on that information. You could almost think of this box as like your what people call their level of consciousness. I think it fits the bill pretty well. And I think Reishi is like a physical substance that like embeds itself in your brain over time. And this is totally pseudoscientific, obviously. But over time, the physical box expands, like your level of consciousness expands. And so it allows you to not just like so it allows you to actually expand that box to where you can take on this new information and make these changes. things like, if you have insomnia and people keep telling you, hey man, like your sleep hygiene and stuff like that, like Reishi helps you over time to actually take on the sleep hygiene habits that people have been telling you to do for years. And it helps you see things outside of your normal paradigm as well. Like, let's say you're in a relationship that's been toxic for so long. You know, a lot of times there's, people will just kind of like one day wake up and realize, oh my God, like, how did I not see this? That's because their actual level of consciousness has expanded. Their box has expanded all of a sudden, and that can be for many reasons why. But a lot of times people need something to help them like expand their box so that they can actually see these things that have been there this whole time. And I believe Reishi helps. It helps you expand your box to where you can see these things, to where you can see that friend that you've been, hanging out with for the last 10 years is a junkie, and nothing you tell him is going to help. And you have to just kind of like let him participate in his self-destructive habits. And it's your choice to be their friend or not. It's your choice to constantly remind them of all the reasons why they should quit. And it's your choice to, in spite of the fact that they're never going to change. So Reishi helps you wake up and be like, whoa, bro, if you really don't like seeing your friend like go down a spiral of self-destructive habits, you need to just let it go and let them deal with that, and hope that they maybe take Reishi eventually, hope that they expand their box eventually over time. So, I suppose you could also say this box represents awareness, maybe. But, I don't really know. I mean, I would say tangible awareness, to where you don't just consciously know that what you're doing is bad, but you're fully aware and of like the pain that it's causing you. Like you actually, it's taking your thoughts and your understanding of things and transferring it into like a physical, like, holy crap, like I need to change type of thing. So Reishi helps you change, really. And obviously it helps with anxiety, helps relax you, helps you go to sleep. It helps to just kind of like bring you down to earth and ground you, relax you, stuff like that. And of course there's a variety of, mechanistic data on what it actually does tangibly in the brain. But I think with herbs like this, they're so multifaceted and they affect different people so differently. It makes more sense to kind of think of it in terms of subjective mechanisms rather than objective scientific mechanisms, because I think that's one of the reasons why, so many people report different results, like, things like ashwagandha, like, oh my God, it made me cry, it made me, think about my past all the time, yada yada. It's because, well, ashwagandha was never really, it wasn't labeled as a, fatigue fighting agent, gives you energy, it's an adaptogen. Like, sure, it's an adaptogen, but it doesn't have like one universal effect. And really it does. It actually does, like if we're talking scientifically, mechanisms of action. But how those mechanisms of action play out in the real world affect different people differently. That's very important. One person can take Reishi and experience, like, it could be exactly what they need, and they're like, whoa, like my life is great. Another person can take Reishi and not like the things that they start to see in life, and not like the broadened perspective that they get. And I would then question, well, has your perspective actually been broadened? But nonetheless, yeah, so that's going to be subjective effects of Reishi mushroom. Leave your question and comments down below, and I'll talk to y'all next time.